A janitor thinks he can fix this? Victoria Sterling's voice dripped with disgust as she gestured toward the sparking engine. Her diamond bracelet caught the boardroom lights as she dramatically covered her nose. God, you even smell like motor oil. Jamal Washington froze in the doorway, trash bags still clutched in his calloused hands. 20 executives stared at him like he was an unwelcome stray dog. Victoria stood up, her red Louboutin heels clicking against marble floors. She walked to Jamal, close enough that he could smell her expensive perfume mixed with contempt. Here's a deal, maintenance boy, fix this $2 million engine that MIT engineers couldn't repair, and I'll marry you right here. She snapped her fingers inches from his face. When you fail, and security will escort you out permanently. The room fell silent. $50 million in contracts hung on this broken machine. Have you ever been dismissed so completely that someone bet their reputation you'd fail? Tech Vanguard Industries rose from Silicon Valley's concrete jungle like a glass monument to innovation. The 40-story tower housed America's most promising autonomous vehicle company, where billion-dollar dreams took shape in sterile laboratories and boardrooms that smelled of leather and ambition. Victoria Sterling had built this empire with ruthless precision. At 38, she commanded respect through fear, her blonde hair always pulled into a perfect bun, her suits tailored to intimidate. The tech world called her a visionary. Her employees whispered different words behind closed doors. The company's crown jewel sat broken on the executive conference table, a revolutionary AI-guided engine designed to power their fleet of self-driving delivery trucks. This wasn't just any engine. It represented 3 years of development, 47 patents, and the engineering dreams of Silicon Valley's brightest minds. The machine could theoretically power autonomous vehicles with 93% efficiency, revolutionizing the delivery industry overnight. For 6 weeks, this machine had defied every attempt at repair. 3 separate teams of Ivy League engineers had failed. 67 diagnostic tests had yielded nothing but frustration and mounting pressure. The engine would start, run for exactly 14 minutes and 37 seconds, then overheat and shut down with the same cryptic error code, harmonic disruption detected. Jamal Washington knew every inch of Tech Vanguard's marble floors. For 3 years, he'd pushed his maintenance cart through these halls, invisible to the executives who stepped around him like furniture. His official title read technical consultant, but everyone knew the truth. He emptied trash cans, mopped floors, and endured the daily humiliation of being the most educated janitor in Silicon Valley. His community college engineering degree hung framed in his studio apartment, a bitter reminder of dreams deferred by medical bills and circumstances beyond his control. While his classmates had transferred to 4-year universities, Jamal had chosen sacrifice. His mother's cancer treatments came first. Always. The chemotherapy sessions cost $3,000 each. Insurance covered 60%. The math was simple and devastating. The engine crisis deepened each day. Victoria's morning meetings grew louder, her demands more unreasonable. She paced the boardroom like a caged predator, her heels clicking against marble in sharp, angry rhythms that made interns flinch. Coffee cups accumulated on conference tables like archaeological layers, marking the progression of her desperation. $67 million, she screamed at the engineering team during Tuesday's disaster meeting. That's what we lose if this engine doesn't work by Friday. $67 million that could have bought us market dominance in 3 major cities. The engineers, Harvard, MIT, Stanford graduates, sat frozen in expensive suits, their laptops displaying the same error codes they'd been staring at for weeks. Their average salary exceeded $120,000 annually. Their combined student debt totaled over $2 million. None of that mattered now. The engine's AI system refused to communicate properly with the mechanical components. Every time they thought they'd found the solution, the machine would overheat, smoke, and shut down. Team leader Marcus Brooks, MIT class of 2019, had dark circles under his eyes that makeup couldn't hide. His team had tried everything: software patches, hardware replacements, complete system reinstalls. They'd consulted with automotive engineers from Detroit, AI specialists from Stanford, even brought in a feng shui consultant after someone suggested the office energy might be interfering with the machine. Victoria's eyes swept the room like searchlights, hunting for someone to blame. "Maybe we have too many people who don't belong here," she said, her gaze lingering on Jamal as he quietly replaced the water pitcher. "Dead weight that's dragging down our entire operation." The comment hit its mark. Several engineering team members glanced at Jamal, their expressions ranging from embarrassment to barely concealed agreement. Sarah Kim from Berkeley shifted uncomfortably. She'd worked 12-hour days for 6 weeks and couldn't solve the problem, yet somehow the suggestion that a janitor might be the weak link made twisted sense in their exhausted minds. Jamal pretended not to hear. He'd learned that invisibility was survival in this place. But his engineering mind couldn't stop analyzing the problem. Late at night, when he mopped the boardroom floors, he'd study the engine's blueprints left scattered on the table. The technical specifications told a story that the engineers seemed to miss. The engine was built in Germany using metric measurements, but the AI calibration software was developed in California using imperial units. A simple conversion error could create cascading problems. The pressure mounted like steam in a closed kettle. Security footage from the previous week showed Victoria deliberately scheduling Jamal's cleaning duties during important investor meetings. She'd point him out to potential partners, her voice carrying just loud enough for him to hear. "We believe in giving everyone opportunities, even our maintenance staff." Her tone suggested charity rather than employment. Email chains revealed worse. Internal communications referred to him as the cleaning guy, despite his official consultant title. Messages discussed his inevitable termination as a cost-cutting measure. One particularly cruel thread, initiated by Victoria herself, speculated about whether he could even read the company directory. HR manager Jennifer Walsh had participated, adding laughing emojis to comments about Jamal's limited vocabulary. The whispered conversations were equally brutal. Employees discussed his presence like an unfortunate necessity, a corporate diversity checkbox that management tolerated but didn't respect. "At least he's quiet," one marketing director had said. "Better than the last guy who actually tried to contribute to meetings." The German investors arrived on Wednesday, their black Mercedes sedans pulling up to Tech Vanguard's entrance like a funeral procession. These men represented 100 million euros in potential funding, money that could launch the company into global dominance. Klaus Müller, CEO of Autotech Bavaria, had flown from Munich specifically to evaluate Tech Vanguard's engine technology. His reputation for technical perfectionism was legendary. Companies either impressed him completely or failed spectacularly. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, former Tesla engineer and current board advisor, accompanied the delegation. Her reputation in automotive engineering was legendary. She'd designed power systems that had revolutionized electric vehicles, held 37 patents, and consulted for companies across 3 continents. Her presence meant this wasn't just a business meeting. It was a technical evaluation that could make or break Tech Vanguard's future. Dr. Rodriguez didn't suffer fools, didn't accept excuses, and could identify engineering flaws with surgical precision. The demonstration was scheduled for Thursday afternoon. The entire company held its breath. Marketing had already prepared press releases announcing the successful partnership. Sales teams had drafted proposals for European expansion. The cafeteria had ordered champagne for a celebration that everyone hoped would happen. Victoria's desperation showed in small ways. Her usually perfect makeup appeared slightly smudged by Wednesday evening. Her assistants scurried through hallways carrying endless cups of coffee and stress management supplements. The executive bathroom had become her private screaming room, where she unleashed frustration that couldn't be displayed in public. Security guards reported hearing muffled shouting and the sound of expensive heels kicking metal trash cans. Meanwhile, Jamal continued his invisible existence. He watched engineers work 16-hour shifts, consuming energy drinks and making increasingly wild theories about the engine's problems. They blamed software conflicts, hardware incompatibilities, even electromagnetic interference from the building's Wi-Fi network. One desperate engineer suggested that the office's feng shui might be disrupting the machine's electronic harmony. But Jamal heard something they didn't. During his late-night cleaning sessions, when the office fell silent, he'd pause near the engine room. The machine made sounds, subtle vibrations, and frequency patterns that reminded him of his grandfather's garage in Detroit. Every engine had its own voice, Samuel Washington had taught him. You just had to know how to listen. This engine's voice sounded strained, like it was fighting against itself. Thursday morning brought chaos. The final diagnostic test had failed spectacularly, filling the boardroom with smoke and triggering the fire suppression system. Engineers stood dripping wet, their expensive laptops ruined, their reputations hanging by threads thinner than spider silk. The smell of burnt electronics mixed with chemical fire suppressant created an atmosphere of defeat that permeated the entire floor. Klaus Müller watched the disaster unfold with Germanic stoicism.